Hey, it's Scott from Family Wheels with another car review for your growing family. And this funky little guy with the cool reddish orange interior is the BMW X2 M35i. It's not quite an SUV, and it's also not really a car. It's kind of in that crossover zone, particularly this guy, the M Sport model, which is actually lowered 10 millimeters. However you choose to classify it, I think it's a pretty sweet car. And it hauls too. Has a lot of great features, but does that mean that it's the right car for you and your growing family? Only one way to find out. We'll put it through its paces and then let you decide. It's the BMW X2 this week on Family Wheels. So the X2 is a fairly recent addition for BMW's lineup. It was first produced for the model year 2018. This is a 2019 that we're in, and it's an X, so it's kind of like in BMW's SUV line there, but it really feels and looks very car-like, almost hot hatchy. I mean, it's bigger than a traditional sort of hot hatchback, so it kind of checks that crossover box. Whatever it is, it's a great little car. So what we have here is an all-wheel drive platform with a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder that makes 302 horse and 322 pound-feet of torque, has a sport automatic transmission, and then paddle shifters here on the steering wheel, and it drives pretty great. There's a drive select switch here that lets you go between sport, normal, and eco modes. The thing when it's in sport mode drives fantastic. It revs high, it's snappy, and the suspension feels pretty stiff as well. Comfort mode, it's still pretty quick, but just more, relaxed and smooth. And then on Eco Pro, you get some actually pretty stinking good gas mileage. We've been getting 8.8 liters for 100 kilometers combined, which works out to 26 US miles per gallon. So pretty great for 300 horsepower little hatchback. Tons of other fun goodies in here as well, like this magma red Dakota leather, heated seats and steering wheel, great sized sunroof, fantastic infotainment system. We'll talk about that more in a sec. 20-inch rims, and all sorts of just little M package cues all over the car. I think it looks pretty great from the outside. We'll talk about that more in a second too. But for now, let's focus on what it's like to be in the cockpit of this car. It's not a huge vehicle. There's not a ton of space in here, but that's good. It's a good little city hauler. I think that it's comfortable. I kind of found it hard to find a position that I was comfortable in at first, but of course you get used to it after a while. Lots of headspace, lots of storage compartments. We get a nice big storage up front here. 2 cup holders that work decent and hold things pretty tight. It's cool. There's a wireless phone charging dock here in the armrest, and then a storage compartment here underneath that doesn't actually get all the way closed in, so it's not great for hiding things if you want to stash stuff away. We do have the glove box for that though, but it's nice to have some storage under here. I would have loved to have seen that closed in. Moving up through the console here, tactile buttons for the climate control, and then the infotainment system is a bit interesting. I like it, but there's a ton of options that you can do with the infotainment system. Tons of things that you can access through the touchscreen or through the iDrive controller, which is another one of these scroll and click wheels here where your right hand falls. Now, I like this, and I don't mind the touchscreen, but I just wish that we also had tactile buttons. We have controls on the steering wheel, but I actually found them a little bit cumbersome. There are things about them that are just not as direct and not as easy to use. Same thing with the iDrive controller. Like, it's a nice idea, and once you get used to it, it's good, but to me, still not as great as just the tried and true tactile buttons that you can just hit up here. The sound in here is fantastic. It's a Harman Kardon speaker system, and it just sounds great. Lots of speakers throughout the car. Like I said, it's fantastic. Bluetooth connectivity, no problem. Navigation is great. The screen is great too. It looks higher end than a lot of cars. Lots of colors. It's very easy to see in the sunlight. The menus are cool. All sorts of information there. that you would like to have. The dash, however, is pretty basic. We just get 2 dials, a speedometer and a tachometer, and then of course there's other little gauges with info and stuff, but it's not like a digital dash that can show you all sorts of info, and it's not really like a second screen for the infotainment system. So all in all, I would say the infotainment system is a little bit cumbersome and clunky, but really not too bad at all. Okay, let's jump into the back seat, because that's an important area for a growing family. Not a ton of space. I mean, it is a smaller car, so it's not something that you're going to want to have larger people in for a long period of time. But the seats back there are comfortable, sort of standard traditional BMW, like stiffer leather, well sculpted seats. And then for installing a car seat back there, we do get the latch system with the latch covers, which I just love. And the latch covers just flip up. They don't actually disconnect, which is good too, because then you're not going to lose them. So that's a nice feature. With the car seat installed, rear facing, of course, there's not a ton of room back there. It's pretty tight, 26 inches from the back of the front passenger seat to the glove box. Behind the rear seats, there's a pretty decent amount of storage. Past the standardized trunk test, no problem. So stroller, diaper bag, camera bag, 2 bags of groceries, and a soccer ball. All of that we were able to get in there. And it's nice that the trunk is automatic. You got kick to open the hatch as well. Nice handy feature to have. I love having that. Now that I've been using it in a bunch of cars, I wouldn't want to live without it. If you need more space, then you get behind the rear seats there. The seats do fold flat. And when I say flat, I mean actually flat, which I like. There's no hump between the seats and the floor in the back. And what's cool about the floor in the back as well is there's actually another storage compartment underneath it. So if you have stuff in the trunk that you maybe want to hide away or sort of keep under there, maybe it's an emergency kit, that type of thing. Lots of nice compartments for that, which is just fantastic. Decibel test, the car's quite quiet. 60 decibels at 100 kilometers an hour on dry roads. I'm quite happy with that. I think that's pretty quiet for what we get. And then ultimately, let's talk about the look back test. This car, the M Sport, I think looks fantastic. I love it in black. I think black cars just look so sharp if you keep them clean. And it has this sort of aggressive lower stance to it. I like the big rims, and I actually really like the placement of the BMW logos all around. It just kind of is this subtle nod to what the car is. Of course, you can see the nice big blue calipers through the rims with the M logo on them, kind of a nod to the performance that, you know, waits for you inside this car. Basically, I think the BMW do styling very, very well. And I think it's just a classy, great looking, small car that tackles city tasks with some fun and, you know, a healthy dose of maturity, I guess. And on that note, let's talk about how the car drives. Well, yeah, it's fast. It's an M Sport, which means it's not an actual M car. There's an X3M and an X5M, but this is not an X2M. This is an X2 M35i. So not quite the full M car treatment, but you're definitely getting more performance and more power than you would get in a regular X2. And yeah, you feel it. Like I was mentioning, 302 horse, 322 feet-pound of torque. And when you step on the car, it picks up and it just goes. It's well mannered in that. If you have it in sport mode, like I said, the chassis is stiff and the engine just revs and keeps the revs up. But somehow it just feels composed, not like it's like raring to get out of control. I really, really enjoyed it. It's the kind of thing that you could just go super fast without your passengers even knowing that you're doing it, because it just is so composed. I really, really enjoyed driving it. The steering is nice and stiff. I like the steering wheel. It's big and easy to hold on to. Yeah, basically the car drives like a dream, and it's super fun, and it's really fuel efficient despite the fact that you really want to drive it aggressively. We've averaged 8.8 liters for 100 kilometers. That's combined city and highway through a week of driving, and that's about 26 US miles per gallon. So really impressive numbers there. Very happy with the economy in this car, and like I said, it's just so fun to drive. I love the all-wheel drive drivetrain. Of course, it makes it, very grippy in the corners and fun to drive. But I also love the versatility of this car being a hatchback crossover type of unit. It means that you're going to be able to do a lot of the skiing, you know, packing stuff in the back, whether it's dog or kids gear or whatever, go camping, that sort of thing. I feel like this would be a very usable, very common sense type of car that also gives you quite a bit of fun on your daily drive. The fit and finish through here, it's a BMW, so, you know, everything is just very, very well done, very high class, has this like air of prestige without it being too hoity-toity, I guess. I am a fan of BMW cars. I've always wanted an M3 or an M5, and while this isn't exactly that, I would certainly say it's more usable than a car like that because of its hatchback nature. It's all-wheel drive as well. But it definitely checks the fun box. So all in all, I think the BMW X2 M35i is a really great car for a growing family. It starts at 49,700 Canadian. Now I know that's not cheap, but if you like to drive, I think you're gonna have a ton of fun in this car. And beyond that, it also has this sort of class to it that makes you feel good when you're driving it. There is something cool about the BMW logo and what it sort of carries with it. There's something to it, whether it's a prestige or a class or just knowing that you're in a vehicle that feels well built, high quality. It has a reputation to maintain, and I think that it does. Like I said, the fit and finish is fantastic. The car looks fantastic. I just can't help myself but look back at it every time I get out. And it's really usable for a family. You know, if you have small kids, you're not going to be carrying around big adults in the back or anything. You shouldn't have any problems there. Lots of usable space. Nice sunroof. Would be a fun car to have in the summer. The sound system is excellent. Just basically everything about it, you know, if you're not afraid to spend a little bit of money to get into a car that you're going to really use and really enjoy, I think the X2 M35i is an excellent choice. For Family Wheels, I'm Scott.